order. And the first item on the agenda, as everybody knows, we've lost a fellow councillor from the town of Yarmouth, and I think it's only fitting to have a moment of silence in Sandy Dennis's memory. Thank you. You've all seen the agenda. Anything to add?
I would like to add YMCA.
And we can add that, wouldn't be, of course, not for decision,
Information.
just for information, and we can do it just prior to the correspondence, if that's okay with everybody.
And I also have a financial request. Community
Financial
grant.
request. Glenn. If nothing else, motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Slow move.
Moved and
Second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Any conflict of interest from anybody? Hearing none. We have no presentation tonight. We have minutes from the regular council meeting on February 12th with an attachment. Motion to
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, carried. Business arising. Update on the Mariner Center's meeting. I'm not sure, I read that. The meeting is still on, it's talking about the meeting of the group of 9. And that's still on the 28th, right? Which is Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the group of 9?
It's the wardens and deputies and CAOs and mayor and deputy mayor.
Wonder what the heck, if it's 9 councillors?
No, group of 9. It's a three units.
Tri-unit, yeah.
Yeah. So, do we need to discuss this? Is there anything here that we need to discuss at this moment?
If I may interject,
Yes.
just a second, I had a short meeting with Pam Mood last night before our industrial commission meeting, and there's nothing concrete as far as funding goes from the other levels of government, but there's programs that may be available, and it means that the municipalities have got to get together and decide if it's a priority for everybody and how committed. So it's, nothing's going to be decided on Thursday, it's just,
No, we wouldn't
We have
decide
to
it.
come to council anyway.
yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, I don't even think we're going to have anything to come to council at this early.
Even
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
So if Alan's got anything to add, because I was away and he's been part of the discussion all along.
Only that you've passed a motion to extend the invitation to all of council
Exactly.
and to AFN, Acadia First Nations, and potentially other units. I don't think that means that we don't have that meeting. I think what it means is, there's three partners, and the first step is, I guess, to get some understanding of where we all are, and I don't think, I think that I guess the motion still stands, so I just want to make sure that you understand that that motion is still, while this meeting is happening, it's not that we're ignoring the motion.
No.
I was wondering, that was a question I would have had there.
Yes, but that would have to be agreed upon with the other units as well, if we're gonna have a meeting with all three, or if we're saying that with the town of Yarmouth and municipality of Yarmouth, and those other groups, they would have to agree, the other
Yeah.
two units would have to agree to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can't unilaterally force the other units to meet,
To come to
No.
come to
but
these
we can
meetings.
certainly express our interest.
Exactly.
And maybe let our partners know that there might be a broader group.
And
Exactly.
that's why I made the motion, because I wanted to give these other, the Acadian First Nations and the other municipalities a chance to get in on it if they wanted. Because there's nothing saying yet, I don't believe that we are an actual partner in this expansion yet.
No, but what I'm saying is that, you know, we're saying the town of Yarmouth and the municipality of Yarmouth, they would have to agree that they're gonna come as well. We could meet with those other groups,
No.
but if they don't wanna come, that's
No,
entirely
no, that's
up to
right,
them.
that's right.
That's
But
their
I
decision.
wanted to give them that chance, you know, to express a welcome to them.
Yes.
Before you get in on it and say, oh, maybe we should ask them, you know,
Yes.
in 6 months' time or a year's time if this thing
Yes.
is picking up speed. Like, I'd like to see
Yes.
them in on it from the
And that
start.
could be brought up
If
at
they
this
want to be in on it
Group
from
of
the
9
start.
meeting anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had something,
Yes, I felt, like Glenn said, I felt we had given direction, and maybe I'm wrong here. I thought in the motion and that, we had give direction to our CAO to organize a meeting, or maybe I'm mistaken. Did you have that feeling, Alain, or did the motion say that at our last meeting, that for you to organize, or not really?
Well, Councillor Surratt, I mean, I can organize the meeting, but they need to attend.
Yeah, we didn't give you direction then to
Yeah.
organize it.
No,
No.
well,
Oh, to ask, I'm
the
sorry.
meeting was,
Yeah.
no, I think you gave direction to me to reach out to the others to express our interest
right.
to meet as a group of 3. That's not been their response. So their response was, let's first meet with the mayors and deputy wardens.
And discuss some of
And,
this.
and the CAOs are the other 3, I guess, the group of 9. And then it'll come out. So I guess my point is the motion still stands, it hasn't been met.
No,
But there's no ill will towards, from our partners regarding a broader meeting.
It just, to me, seems like it's step one in making sure everybody's on the same page,
Exactly.
right? And then we talk
Exactly.
more about it. Is that,
Exactly.
that's my understanding of it.
Same here,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, same here.
no, that was the understanding I
exactly,
received from you.
that's- exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all we have on that. And the second one is the Club Social des Iles, the emergency funding request. But that's already been approved. We approved, not the actual amount, but we had approved an amount that was, the actual cost is what we approved, between 5,000 and 6,000
Yeah.
according to the minutes.
We approved that we would contribute.
Contribute.
And this, I would ask that council actually make it a motion for the amount, now that we know the
Now
amount
that we
for
know the
sure.
exact amount.
And the amount is $5,165.85.
I will
Yes.
make that motion that the amount of $5,165.85 be granted to Club Social des Iles.
I'll second.
I'll second, yeah.
Everybody's gonna second it.
And that's the only thing now,
Person.
When we do something for our municipality, everybody wants to say.
Exactly.
That's right.
that's the only
Question?
thing I'm looking at.
Question call for, or did you have something?
The only thing I was looking at, it is moved by Guy Surratt and seconded by Lucien LeBlanc to cover the full cost of emergency renovations. I believe I may have made that motion myself, at that last meeting. I believe I made it and it was seconded by Guy or by Lucien possibly. Not sure, but I believe I may have.
We can take the video. and
Yep.
Yeah,
confirm.
yeah,
If we have an error, we'll.
yeah, just,
We'll
fix
just, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Carried. No strategic priority topics. For decision, tax relief, there's an attachment.
Did you forget financial statement?
I could be financial.
Financials.
Did I forget financial? Leave it to me.
No?
It's all right, it's been a long
School
day.
teachers watching.
That's good.
You're at a nap, so it's sharper tonight.
Financial, an attachment of 3 pages. So will the CEO, since our Director of Finance is not here?
Yes, no problem. So right now, we're projecting an operating fund surplus of just below 119,000, 118,644. So that would be at the end of January 2019. The way that we project and prorate our expenses and project them to the end of the year, I expect some increases as we get closer to March, but I am expecting some additional expenditures that were unbudgeted which will come into play, and relating mostly to the sea cucumber appeal. So there will be obviously we will have legal fees associated with that were not budgeted in the year. So coming back on page 1, the revenues are almost, the tax revenues are almost as expected. The transfer tax is catching up to budget. It's only 3,100 lower than expected budget. Grants in lieu of taxes are essentially bang on. So services provided to other governments, that's the biggest reason for that increase is my extended period of time selling services to the airport on behalf of the municipality. Revenue from own sources would be penalties, interest on taxes is the main driver. Typically we typically take a conservative view on penalties and interest. Obviously we don't, that's the income we want the least, because that's the one that means that people are not paying on time. So it says penalties and interest, it is almost entirely interest. And so it's 9,274 above projections. And that will expect to continue until we get to the end of March. Now the tax sale occurred in February, and so we had, out of, I think it was 13 properties, 12 were sold. So it's a very, very good result.
Wow.
So that will put some of our accounts back on well, I mean, they generate revenue, but when they don't get paid, it's not the same thing. So it'll become tax revenue that we receive. Total revenues there, and so there is the transfers from own reserves is slightly lower. Well, it's $41,000 lower. What this is we expected to transfer money to and from the East Pimlico water utility for a project. That project will be delayed. It'll be delayed till next year. That's the tank, and there's also some pump stations that need repair. It took us a long time to get the engineering on it completed. So now that we missed our season, but we'll be ready for next season. So what you'll see is a corresponding number of 41,000 in the expenses. So both the revenues and the expenses will be lower by 41,666. So don't let that worry you. And in fact, when you see transfer from own reserves, that's money we already have. So it's not actual new revenues. It's actually transferring from another fund. So the total then, therefore, is 6.706 million in revenues. The expenditures, administration leads the way in general government services, approximately 18,300 savings compared to budget. We typically put some contingency in some of the expenses under administration that relate to building and office supplies, and office furniture, etc. And we expect it to be a little bit further ahead on the building for the admin building. So there was an element there that had office furniture included in it. That is also where legal expenses are recorded. So I expect that number to be reduced before the end of the year. I still expect a surplus at the end of the year. So there's other savings under memberships and conferences, mostly conferences. It says election, conferences, and memberships. There is no election this year, but that's the name of the grouping. Protective services is 11,000 lower or better than expected. We did have an overage in EMO, which you know why. It's the water drought and the expenditures related to that. But we also have considerable savings in property inspection and public works that more than offset that number. Environmental health services, West Pimlico is way ahead of budget. One of the reasons is that part of the budget expected the construction of a storage facility for Rosie, our pump truck, and that will happen in mid 2019. It'll happen potentially begin this fiscal, but end in next fiscal. East Pimlico Water Utilities is also showing a surplus of 12,540. Again, we expected to spend more in maintenance and that maintenance was deferred. Dangerous and unsightly, there's a savings of 12,280. I expect that number to be adjusted before the end of March to be closer to the budget, but that will depend on our policy and how quickly we can get it passed, presented and passed to you. Recreation and cultural is showing surpluses in the Tuscan Courthouse and the recreation and active living areas, departments of almost 31,000 total. So there's a big chunk of our savings that is there, but we will be offsetting some of that with the purchase of a new commercial mower. And finally, you will see on the final page, that famous 41,000
Yep.
is showing a positive proration. So we have 175,000 in savings expenditures and revenues understated by 16 for a total of 159,345, which is our total surplus. However, the West Pubnico Sewer is owed, of that surplus, the West Pubnico Sewer owns 24,000, the Tuscan Sewer 4,000, and middle and lower 12,000. So the net is 118,644. More detail than you're used to. But that's the report. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about some of the numbers?
Councillor Surratt.
This is maybe not really to the budget, but it does pertain a bit to the penalties and interest in that. Somebody was asking me, they came and paid 12 equal payments on their taxes for a year, like they dropped 12 checks. Is there an interest fee there?
The short answer is yes. The longer answer is it depends when they made the payments or when they made arrangements. So what happens is, typically, and a lot of people do this, and I think it's a great idea, is to do monthly payments, and they can do that, and it can be set up here quite easily, so that instead of paying all at once, it's like your insurance.
Yes.
You pay a little bit a month. So, however, the interest of 16% does apply still if there's any balance owing at the end of July of any particular year. So what some choose to do is to pay their bill and then start the payment for next year thereafter, so that there'll never be any interest.
Oh, I get you.
Now, yes, so there is still interest, but by the time, typically, depending on when they start, they have most of it paid. So they will pay a little bit of interest, but again, it will depend on every situation is different.
Yeah, of course. Gives you a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion, we accept the financial statement for the end of January, up to the end of January.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Now we can go for decision. Tax relief. So, we don't have to do each individual, we can do it as one? Or do we do each individual one?
I think typically we do the total, and we make reference to the attachment. Now, there's a reason why this is so high.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Yes.
So these are all, so if you see, Bonnie, our tax collector, has clearly noted which ones are post-tax sale. So the first two are post-tax sale, the others are much smaller. So the bottom three were either duplicate assessment or errors, so those are much smaller.
Mhm.
The first two are, if you recall, council would have approved a lower bid
Yes.
than what is owed on, it was these two properties. So because these two properties received a bid, we consider it paid in full, because they did give us the opening bid. So when you made that motion, you actually authorized us to do
To go,
this.
yeah.
However, this is now that we know the amount, we require an official motion to that effect.
Question, I have a question. Okay, so this was at this year's tax sale.
Yes.
So don't the owners have a year or whatever to pay these taxes and come back and get it?
Not in those
No.
cases,
Okay,
because they are, they've been on the tax sale for a number of
Okay,
times.
okay,
And they are, so they're considered, there's not a 6-month redemption period, they're redeemed instantly.
okay.
Now, in the case, let's just say that in the case where you could be in a situation where that
Yes.
was the case, the write-off does not apply.
No.
So the previous owner doesn't get the write-off, they have to pay the full amount, because they owe the full amount. So the write-off is only for tax sale purposes, for the opening bid. And in fact, when you make that motion, you're not actually authorizing us to write it off, because you never know what a bid's gonna be.
No.
Right, you get an opening bid, and then the bid could go up to the amount owing.
Yes.
In theory, it never does, but in theory it could. So, yeah, so these are redeemed immediately.
Okay.
So this is more or less bookkeeping and to get these properties back into circulation paying taxes.
That's
Exactly.
correct.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we relieve the request for relief of all these properties. I believe there's 5, total $11,524.88.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
Question.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried.
Just one other piece of information for council, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chair, is, Deputy Warden, is that 2 of those amounts related to cleanups.
As well.
So that write-off will increase your dangerous and unsightly expense.
Yes.
So, just so that you're aware, that's what happened. Those 2 properties were cleaned up, and it was insufficient interest to pick it up
Yes.
from, well, the owner didn't want to pay it, and the interested third party did not want to, didn't want to pay the full amount. So that's why when I said in the financial statements
Okay, right.
that your dangerous and unsightly is going to come up,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why it would.
But at least now we see by reducing the opening bids and that, at least now we're getting rid of some of these lands out there. And like Mr. Warden said, now it's gonna generate taxes
Tax
again,
again.
you know, yeah.
Great.
And the fact that we got a bid means that we recovered at least part of the
That's
costs
right.
of
Yeah.
cleanup.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
not
Really,
all,
really.
part.
Okay. Dr. Recruitment, we need an alternate member.
Okay, can I speak to this?
Yes, you can.
I guess I was automatically slingshot into the position of being on this doctor recruitment, which I'm gonna have a hard job filling that commitment based on when it is in my work schedules. They at least want an alternate, and I'd prefer somebody to replace me and an alternate, but if not, I will stay and go as much as I can.
So is anybody interested in either one?
When are they looking at you were saying about the meetings or the
It's
time?
usually late afternoons,
Yes.
4 o'clock, has been the trend.
And is this every like second month?
Well, it's just
or-
getting started, so there's only been one. Second one is this coming Thursday at 4 o'clock. So,
I'll put my name as the alternate for
okay.
that.
She beat me to it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's see, yeah, you look at, yeah.
You can have the primary spot if you want.
I'm just the type that when I go on, if I don't feel as though I can put the time, I'd be feeling that I'd be letting people down, and that's what would bother me
And
there.
that's the way I'm doing it. You want the primary spot and I'll take the alternate?
How often they meet? Well, you don't know, right?
But it won't be a lot. You'd find it a lot more Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Let me see what Thursday looks like
At,
before I say yes.
Do they meet on Thursdays? Is that
Not
another thing?
necessarily.
Not
Well, it's
necessarily.
too early, right? They're just getting
You don't
everything
know
set
yet.
up, yeah.
Yeah, this Thursday works. Yeah, okay.
4
I'll-
o'clock
I'll
at
do
the,
that.
at the Hebron complex
Okay.
for the first meeting. So-
Hebron Complex.
So we'll make a motion to appoint Nicole.
She's getting there.
Look,
I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay.
so a motion to appoint
Nicole.
Nicole as the
Alternate.
member.
No,
no,
the
Not the
member.
alternate.
Oh.
Not
Member.
primary,
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
primary.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded?
And I'll take the alternate if nobody else wants it.
Oh, I think you're a perfect candidate.
So do I think,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
it'd be nice to have the warden on it, as far as I'm concerned,
Oh.
Yeah.
on a committee like that.
So
Perfect,
we
yeah.
need a
So
motion
moved.
for that.
Yeah.
Okay, moved and seconded that Warden Johnson will be the alternate. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried.
So will I get emails?
No, you just got notified. You just announce yourself when you get there.
Okay,
Okay,
Patty-
then you'll get emails.
Patty's the chair.
Okay.
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 Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sending an, I
An
think
email.
Liz is the,
Liz would be the one that
Yes.
sends.
Contact.
all right, they'll be notified.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Ellen.
and I'm sure you'll get some notifications from Liz. Recreation Department. We need,
Need a motion to accept the budget for the recreation department?
Yes, and you should note that there is an additional day camp, a pilot project that's being
Right.
put out. The observation is that the day camp is really, really interesting still after 20-odd years to an age group, but it gets really quickly not interesting when it gets to like the 10, 11-year-olds. I can attest for that like personally. There's a wide gap in interest in those age groups.
yes,
So the recreation department is going to try a pilot project that takes that group and does things that are a bit more adulting, you know, or teenager-y. You know, things like hiking and you know, biking and
exactly.
robotics.
Something that interests that age group.
Right.
And
so-
last year, can I just, is it okay? Last year they did try one outing, they did a trip to Keji. They only took a small
Yes.
number and it filled up really fast and there was a waiting
course.
list. So they thought they would kind of push things and see if they can make some programming for them. So
Good.
it's a pilot project to start.
That's a great idea.
I think it's an excellent.
Mhm. It's the group we're missing.
And I was gonna say, knowing the people that's trying it and pushing it, they will make it work,
Right.
you know? I have lots of faith in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make the motion to accept their budget of $84,005.87.
I'll second that.
okay, so what we're approving, okay, right, are we approving the,
2019 summer
because there's a budget,
Yeah.
The total.
for recreation.
oh,
Yeah, the
okay,
motion is there.
okay, the motion is, yeah, the motion is there. So it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
It'd be
Hearing
8,400.
none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded?
Need that other one too.
Carried.
8400.
So, do we have two motions on that? We have, there's two attachments.
Where do you see the other one?
First
Maybe you're
attachment is where the
right.
motion was.
The second attachment, I believe, is the
It's
detailed
just, I
budget.
think it's just the budget that shows,
It's the one pager that Jeanette does every year.
right,
So the grand
exactly.
total that you will have approved is 84,005
Right,
and 87.
Right,
So
Okay,
we
I see.
approved that before we actually approved the budget because the recreation department requires this information
yes,
in order to go get applications for Canada Works.
yes. Okay.
So they need a commitment from you before they're able to do that
And they've been doing that for years.
forever.
Yeah, we do that. Okay. The
I don't have-
municipal building. Now, there was a motion here from the committee, and it's basically a recommendation. But since we're having another meeting on Thursday, do we wait? Because here, it looks like we're going to be retendering and then look at the,
I would wait.
I think we have to wait because we don't know what
Great
that
point.
is going to
Great
bring.
point.
So you can approve the minutes today
Yes,
because
Give it
they're
back.
attached in their minutes, but subsequent to the meeting, we quickly moved and talked to Wild Salt regarding the next steps.
exactly.
They have made a suggestion as to the next steps. It's different than what the building committee had been discussing.
Exactly.
They didn't have the value of that information, so we have called another meeting on Thursday to bring people up to speed
Yes.
on the why
Exactly.
the next step.
Because that was discussed, but we didn't feel that we could do that at this point without discussing it with,
Absolutely.
but it looks like maybe before we retender, that we could be looking at that possibility of the project manager system or whatever.
Well,
right?
it's, what they're suggesting is to go to retender, but not exactly the way that
The
we
way
would.
that, exactly, that we had thought, that we were just gonna go and wait to see what happens.
Right,
Yeah.
so there is, so I guess it's difficult for me to explain it better than they, but they will be in the position where they can explain, and of course,
Exactly.
the municipal council is invited to that
To the
meeting as
meeting as
well.
well.
Yes.
Yes,
We'll make sure that the invitation is clear and
Yes.
that people can make it, that they can make it.
Oh, so we are invited
You are,
Thursday?
oh,
Oh,
I didn't realize
Yeah,
you
because
were.
either did I when we first
Yeah,
came
same
out
here.
there. I was wondering if we
Yeah,
were.
we'll clarify that, and we'll make sure that everybody gets, because there's no sense waiting to get the information third hand. We'll definitely bring you in the meeting.
they'll bring it to us and we'll have to bring to you, you may as well hear it.
Well, and you know,
firsthand.
that's good, because really, there's people out there now asking me about the new municipal office,
Doesn't stop.
and I don't know.
No.
And they say, well, I heard from someone else. Well, I don't know,
Mhm.
you know, so.
Okay,
It is gonna go back out to market, and it's gonna go back out to market very soon.
Mhm.
We just need to clarify a couple of matters before we can go there.
exactly. So what we need is a motion to approve the minutes of the,
That's all we need today.
that's all we need today.
So move.
Second.
Okay, move, yeah, yes, Councillor Surratt.
I don't, it says February 19, Tuesday, February 19,
I know.
2019, so that can't be right. I've lost some time. Was that the date of the meeting?
Of our meeting? No, our meeting February 26th.
Oh, because I'm
No.
looking here says
Committee
Tuesday.
of the whole, no,
It
I'm
was
on the
February
wrong,
19th. Yeah, it was
sorry,
last
I'm on the
week.
It was
wrong.
last- The
It was
building
last
committee meeting
It
was
was
last
the
week.
night, yeah, it was
Yeah.
last week,
Was it last week?
yes,
And so,
I've lost a day or two somewhere. I thought, didn't think it was the 19th, okay.
yeah.
and
Yeah, it
Wild
was
Salt,
last week.
Salt has made some changes in the,
Yeah,
in the
okay.
week, and they're gonna present them
Exactly.
in a couple days.
It was
So-
last week,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a meeting last week with the committee.
But it's got my,
and it's got my
got
name.
my name on there too. I wasn't there. That's why I'm questioning it. My name, I wasn't there.
Nor
Is
was
it
I.
present? Earl Muse was there, well, of course Earl Muse would be there. But I wasn't there, and Glenn, I didn't think he.
I wasn't there.
Let me just go back. to
Now,
which-
we
When you
were-
read the minutes, that's why I'm
Which
confused
minutes
a
it
bit.
were.
We were
Because
in one,
I wasn't here the 19th. for sure.
earlier in
No, no.
February, or in
We had been with the whole
January,
gang together.
in
way back
January,
in-
or,
That was my mistake, I had copied and pasted minutes and I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
remove
no.
people, so I'll fix that.
Oh,
that's all
okay.
right,
Yeah.
that's all right,
No, that's okay, I just want to be sure, yeah,
yeah.
it's all right.
Yes, that's right.
Am I missing here? I've lost some days? Okay, because I remember we had that meeting in the afternoon, the
Yeah.
whole gang.
That's right, exactly.
And I thought, is that the
But
date?
that's not the
Yeah,
meeting,
no.
no.
Very good.
So that's going to be
Question?
corrected.
Yes, I'll fix
Okay.
that today, yep.
So, all in favor of the minutes
As a minute.
as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, carried. Low income tax exemption applications. I'm looking at these. Oops, what happened here? It says, number of applicants below 17.6 income of a $200 tax exemption, there's 13 applicants for 1,300. Shouldn't that be 2,600?
Probably. If the 13 is wrong or the 1,300 is wrong.
And
This is an example for 2017.
so it doesn't really matter, because
It's-
what you're asking for is the approval of a budget for 19,000 for 2019.
We're proposing that it would be 19,000,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
because we're not making any changes to the tax exemptions
Exactly.
this year.
Okay.
Now, your choice as council is to say, we don't like these exemptions, try again.
Okay,
The bylaw the policy you're aware of and you see every year. Secondly is just to say, I will say that, we did make changes to it last year, so this is not,
That's
it's
right.
not an old policy.
that's right, no.
So, we're recommending no change for this year. there might be some major changes in the low income exemptions, if there were changes to the cap on assessment program.
Yes.
The provincial cap on assessment program is being looked at quite
Is
heavily.
it? Yes.
And they're trying to determine, I don't know what the result will be, but they're looking at it provincially now because, it's causing some significant problems for a variety of taxpayers where, you know, there's literally thousands of dollars different from one neighbor to the next with the same house.
Yeah.
Because of this, because it's an unintended consequence of the tax policy. It's not as bad in Argyle, but in some of the places where they, like there's a lot of growth, like in East Hants and in HRM, it's a big problem. So I can tell you that because of the cap, and because of the rate that we apply to the cap, there's a gap of about $200,000 of revenues that we don't charge, because of the cap.
Yes.
So, and so if the cap was ever eliminated, it certainly wouldn't happen immediately, but it would happen over time. And one of the things the province is thinking about, and what we would, as AMA and NSFM are working towards is to protect the low-income individual from those changes.
Yes.
Because that was the intent of the tax policy in the first place, was to protect the lower taxpayers. So we're looking, there could be some legislative changes. If those legislative changes happen, we would have to totally revisit this and make it a lot more attractive to our residents. That would be what I would recommend to you as council. For now, I think we should be okay with
Look
this exemption.
at it the way, so we need a motion to basically, what you're saying, so to just accept the policy the way it is.
Yeah, you actually don't have to approve the budget
No.
at 19,000 right
We
now.
just know.
What we would require in order to go out for applications is to endorse the tax exemption policy for this year and move forward with the application process.
Exactly.
So you don't have to dial yourself in on the amount of budget right now.
Numbers.
And you will know how many applications you have before the budget is passed. So, effectively then, I would recommend a motion to, proceed with the application, the tax exemption applications for 2019.
I'll make the motion that we proceed with the tax exemption application for 2000, is it 18, 19?
19, it would be
Sorry.
2019, 20.
20, yeah.
1920.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded?
And-
Carried. Oh, you
and-
had something, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and,
I saw.
Go ahead.
okay, thank you. And it's nice to hear the CAO saying that about, because the tax, I believe they are looking at eliminating the cap. And I was wondering about that, because it could put some undue financial hardship on some people. There's no saying it couldn't, so I'm glad we're looking at a way that we'll possibly be doing something for these people as well, if the cap is eliminated at some point in time.
There's, on the cap issue, just to make it clear for those that are watching, there are multiple ways that the municipalities can protect the resident from a spike of that nature. A lot of municipalities aren't increasing their tax rate right now because that would exacerbate the problem, right? So those people that are paying more would pay even more.
That's right.
And so the gap would get larger between those two groups of people.
Yeah.
If there was a solution that would come out, it's most likely going to have some protection for low income and also some spike protection for assessments. So, you know, in some communities, they have an influx of new landowners, new people living in the area, and it's some of the value is increasing exponentially. So that's how our assessment is driven. Our assessment is driven by market. So if suddenly the market changed drastically here and people were buying up land where it used to be, you know, I don't know, 8,000 an acre, now it's like 21,000 an acre, that's going to increase people's taxes over time. And so what they would propose is a spike protection.
Good.
That you wouldn't get it all, you wouldn't have to be hit all at once with
Good.
that. So they are talking about protection, and they really, it's legitimately looking to protect the low income individual in their homes,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
And not only as far as I'm concerned, the low income, protecting the middle income or all, like, all of a sudden, if a bill takes a real big jump, like, some people, whether they be low income or not, it could put quite a strain on, you know, their finances, so I'm glad that we'd be looking at something to, you know, that it would soften it for them anyway, you know, the jump.
You had something?
Yeah, it's basically Glenn's got what I was gonna ask. I'll just add this in and maybe Alain might have an idea where he's in talks with a lot of the people in the know, I guess, AMA and NSFN. I remember in Chester, would be an example, there was an older couple that had a piece of land on the water, and next somebody came and bought the land for, like, let's say, I don't know, $300,000 or $400,000 more. So these people, the first thing, their land, they were going to have to move out of their houses. So that's part of, I know that's what Glenn was attesting to a bit, but you were attesting more to the spike if the cap takes off. But what about those people? Have you, let's say on Morris Island, somebody's got a house, they've been staying there for 50 years, and somebody buys a house next door or builds on a piece of property, puts their property up, what kind of protection would those people, they probably couldn't afford it if they did their own fixed income? Is there something that you've been talking there?
Well, I'll speak with first
What
what's
you know.
out there now for protection. So if you're a senior on fixed income,
Yes.
you have a tax rebate up to 50% of your taxes right now. So every year, we get a lot of applications here from seniors, whether they're couples or widowed, living in their home. They can get 50% rebate to a maximum of, I believe, $800. So that's step one. Those are likely going to qualify for our rebate as well. So depending on what their income is, it might be $100 or $200 in addition to that. So those are what exists now. And then what would happen if they eliminated the cap, they wouldn't just eliminate the cap cold turkey, there would be a transition period. And that transition period would be, we don't know what it would be, but presumably when you get rid of the legislation that has that kind of inequity, you have to soften the blow over time, right? And the spike protection is what that means. So one of the ways that they would protect is if there was a sudden and massive increase in your assessment, you wouldn't have to pay the taxes on that all at once. It would be deferred
Gradually.
over a period of time so that you could even it out over time.
Or settled, but then which
Well, yeah, that's
would
true
not be
too.
an option it's for some people.
Not necessarily ideal for everyone, and so the cap, when it was first put in place, it was at 15% or 10%. So, and now it's at CPI. So that's what caused the problem. As soon as they moved it from 10% to 5% to
CPI.
inflation, then, inflation was at what? In 1 year it was at 0. And in another year it was at 1.9. So everybody's tax bill that was capped was being capped at 1.9. But there were quite a few that weren't capped. And so it would cause this huge gap.
Right.
And then when you bought a new property, and presumably, so what was happening in some places is seniors would sell their home because they wanted to downsize, right? So they had a nice home, they sold it, and when they got into their new home, the property taxes was twice, even 3 times higher than their original home that was much larger.
Right.
Because when you buy, the cap is eliminated. So it's causing a lot of problems, and it was put there to protect seniors
That's right.
and low-income individuals
That's right.
from that. But when they're downsizing, they're now
The
paying
opposite.
for it, and it's causing another problem.
Great explanation, right. Now I get it.
So,
More even than
right.
ever, right.
And I would suggest that the cap on assessment right now, and to say it as bluntly as I can, is not a cap on the low income. It's a cap on the wealthy.
Really,
Because the larger your assessment,
yes,
the more significant is the rebate.
that's right.
So if you're low income in a home that's worth $50,000 or $60,000, you're not enjoying the value of the cap right now.
No.
It's not having an impact on you.
Absolutely,
But if you have a $400,000 home, it is.
it is.
And so it's,
Just the opposite of
and so
what,
it did the opposite in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
I get it more now than I ever did.
So,
Okay.
and it's an issue, and I think the best thing to do is to protect, and just because people have assessments of 400 doesn't make them wealthy either. I mean, so
No,
there's,
no, no.
it's our best guess at who is able to pay the tax bill, right? So that's the issue we're trying to solve.
Thank you.
Okay, now, did we vote on the motion?
Haven't voted yet, no, it's just been moving second.
It's been moved and seconded, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Approval of the procurement policy.
So you would have received notice on this?
Yes.
This is to allow us to use the provincial list for, they have a standing offer list.
Mhm.
This amendment allows us to access the standing offers of the province of Nova Scotia, which should speed up a lot of our procurement.
Okay.
That's the only change that I
Yeah.
see, right?
Yes.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve this procurement policy
Second.
with the one change to, let me see,
Okay.
5B, 5.3B.
5-3. So moved and seconded. Any
Question?
question called? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Okay, that's all we have for decision.
No? Wasn't you gonna talk about that?
Yeah. That's not for decision, I
Oh,
don't think.
okay,
It's
that's
just for
number 4.
information.
Okay, of
But
course.
we're gonna we are gonna bring that up now, so. We had a meeting, Councilor Albright and myself had a meeting with the YMCA yesterday. And they just basically wanted to know what's our thoughts of where the Y should go from here, I guess. So if you want to, you can,
Yep. It was an information sharing. They
Yes.
wanted to let us know they wanted to know how we felt about the possibility of the YMCA going in the Mariners Center expansion. They wanted to give us information on financials. We talked about our tri-unit meeting and how we had heard some kind of pushback about having the YMCA move to the Mariner Center. And they had heard some as well, but from what I understood is they've had recent conversations with some of the councils, and the consensus now seems to be that they are mostly in agreement of having the YMCA move. From what we understood, they are definitely in dire circumstances when it comes to financials. They told us last night that I should be able to share this, right?
I can't see why
I
not.
can't see why not.
It's public.
The town contributes 55,000, Argyle contributes 15,000, and the municipality of Yarmouth contributes 12,500 per year to the YMCA. So even with that, their biggest revenue stream is membership, and they also do fundraising with the lottery, and there's not just the lottery, different types of fundraising, but in a nutshell, they have a shortfall this year and have had shortfalls. And they can't continue to go on as they are. So what they would like to do is they would actually entertain an invitation to come speak to our council, because they are looking to put in a proposal to have continuous funding year after year in the range of 150 to 200,000 from all 3 units, not each unit, from all 3 units. So they would like to come and talk to us, because they answered questions for us, but there were only 2 of us. We're certain that there's other counselors who have questions, so they said they would like an invitation, they'd like to come present and put up a formal proposal for funding, so that it would become a line item in our budget year after year, because we're not sure what's gonna happen.
No.
And Deputy Warden was very clear on saying, we don't know that the Mariner Center expansion is going to happen, we're in preliminary talks. You know, we're not banking on that, so what happens if that doesn't occur? Where do you go from there? So they kind of would like to come talk to us about that and answer any questions.
Now you mentioned, between 150 and 200,000. Did she not say that they were short 70,000 last year?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
yeah,
And loss of something.
a loss of
Yes,
70,000.
Deficit of 70,000.
So
last
in
year.
order to kind of not even just break even, but be able to function, they are looking at needing between $150 and $2,000, 200,000, sorry, dollars per year. So they're looking to make a proposal over the next 3 to 5 years, was my understanding, is that?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's going to be something sent to each unit.
Unit.
And we suggested, and I said, you know, about maybe better sometimes to make a
Presentation.
in-person presentation so that questions can be answered
Right,
there.
that's right.
So it'll be just, if we want them to come, it's just gonna be up to us to invite them to come make a presentation for us.
So currently, they own the
They own the
building, the
building.
YMCA organization owns the building. They manage the running of the building. They are definitely in favor of seeing an aquatic center at the Mariner Center
Yes.
expansion. They were very clear on that.
One of the questions I had was, do they know how the people would feel? Not just council.
Right.
If the Y was to move away from downtown. And they would plan on having either a survey
They
or
become-
to
begin a survey.
see how are people getting here? Does it matter how many people walk, how many people drive? That if you're driving, whether you're downtown or at the Mariner Center, it wouldn't make a hell of a lot of difference. If you're walking, depending on where you're walking from, that could. But anyway, they would plan on having some kind of a survey done to find out exactly, you know, how many people walk, how many people. And they're also, and that could be in the proposal that they're gonna send to us, you know, how many members are from each
stats,
municipal
right.
unit as well. You know, from the Argyle,
So that we can.
21.4 from Argyle.
71.4
21.4
Argyle.
is the membership.
Okay.
Was that
Okay.
right?
I got a big email today on this.
Oh, you
Okay.
did get the email
21.4.
today, there you go.
And I think
yeah.
I forwarded it to everybody this evening.
Okay.
Oh, you could have, I didn't see it,
I didn't see it either yet.
no,
Yeah.
okay,
there.
there you go.
Yeah,
So I think that's probably, in
That's
a nutshell.
probably it, and like I said, the proposal that they're sending, so.
So they kind of wanted us to ask if, you know, just kind of put it out there that this is what they talked to us about last night and
Yes.
make you aware and see if there was, if it would be okay with everybody to come and make a presentation, to talk about the stats, to talk about the finances, that kind of thing. They kind of wanted to see what council felt about that.
I think it would be a great thing myself.
Okay.
You know, they're a great organization, they're trying hard, they're working very hard, but, yeah.
They
no.
talked, and they did talk more, not just about aquatics, they talked about they offer a lot of different programs.
Yep.
And they use the word belonging a lot, did you notice that, Deputy Warden? That they basically try to provide spaces for people to belong. It's not just about swimming for them.
No,
So the different types of programming that they offer so that people can have a place to feel that they have, that they have a role. So I asked the question, what do they perceive if they move to the Mariner Center, if they become part of that, would they see an expansion of services that and they definitely said that they definitely had plans on making things many more opportunities for that.
yes, for sure. Councillor Surratt.
I can ask you this, Nicole, and maybe I might be able to. Did they talk about if there was, if they went under the Mariner Center's umbrella, that 150, 200,000 may not be needed because they're under one umbrella called the Mariner Center. Therefore, that line item we wouldn't need there. It would be a Mariner Center
Right.
budget that we have a line item on.
This is kind of the bridging
Yeah,
to that,
the
right?
bridging to that.
Because we don't know what's coming in the future, but for now, they can't make it without this.
I got you.
That
really
was
tells-
my understanding.
That really tells me even more.
Yeah.
That was,
Okay,
Because
because let's face it, that would be
Yeah.
maybe, what you guys think, 4 or 5 years before everything,
Well,
3 or 4 years before
Yeah, it's
finally
not
got
gonna
done,
happen overnight.
maybe more than that, right?
Right, and that's what they realize.
I get you.
Yeah.
It's not next year.
Right.
It wouldn't be built, yeah.
Right.
Because
Good
until,
job. Thank
until
you.
we know what's gonna happen and how it's going to work, there's no way of knowing how it's gonna get managed either, so.
Don't know.
Anyway, so, any more questions? Yes.
It's not a question more than statistics. So traditionally, the town of Yarmouth has paid the majority of the funds.
Mhm. Yes.
So out of 82, they pay 55.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That reflects approximately the membership. It's probably, if we look at their percentage of members, they're at 39%
Mhm.
of the membership of the Ys is from the town.
Okay,
Traditionally, when we've shared things regionally, we've looked at usage,
Right.
we've looked at population, and we've looked at uniform assessment.
Yes.
So if you, depending on how you wanna look at it, our funding right now represents almost exactly the membership mix. So at 21% of the membership, of the 82.5, we give 15, and that's approximately
Okay. yes.
21%, okay?
Yeah.
If we take uniform assessment and population, our standing in that area, when we use the average, is about 31%. So if you take, so the town of Yarmouth would be closer to 28 or 27%, okay? So all that being said is, the town of Yarmouth is paying its share of membership, for sure, but their payment does not reflect their uniform assessment, nor does it reflect their population. They're the lowest uniform assessment, and they're the lowest population. I'm just keeping it real.
Right.
no.
We are the second highest
Yes.
in both population
Yeah.
and assessment.
Assessment.
And by far, the highest one is the municipality of Yarmouth.
Yeah.
So their membership is at almost 31%, and their funding model is 15% perhaps.
That's right.
And if you take their uniform assessment and their population, it's about 40 to 41%.
Right,
So right now, the funding model is broken.
Yes.
absolutely.
And so, part of the conversation, on the bridge financing, ought to be, who takes on the amount. And so, it's not just an interest in the asset itself, it's also, to try to get some level of fairness around the funding. Now, if we took an average of a third, the three numbers that I discussed, your portion would go up.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would suggest that's the right thing to do, because we're looking at an aquatic center that may or may not be located downtown. And if it was located elsewhere, particularly in the Mariner Center property, there would be a strong argument to suggest that our residents would have even greater access to that, because of the ease of access to it in the first place. So I'm trying to give you the not the political side, but the administrative side
That's right.
on the percentages that are in play right now. And I did meet with the board separately. They had asked me to follow up on a number of items, and if they don't get this funding, it's gonna be a big problem.
It is gonna be a problem. They're, they're falling further and further behind and, so.
Right, and they can't increase their membership in their current location. Because the location has had it, right?
Yeah.
It is at its end of life. And people would be, in my mind, very interested in a refreshed fundraising, people would participate in a fundraising opportunity, even including Y12, if the aquatic center was possibly new or newer.
That's right.
But right now, it's really restricting their ability to get new members or to generate funds through fundraising purposes.
She did mention that the Y12 this year had done better than last year. Last year, for some reason, they had a hard time with their Y12 for some reason.
Too many chase the aces,
Yeah.
is what
That
we
could
were
be-
told.
That could be,
Oh, is that,
exactly.
well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not getting any better.
No.
There's more and more.
Good information, thanks. Tom.
Yes,
Great information.
okay. So now we're at correspondence. First one is waste check, financial. And I'm just gonna go through them, and if you have any questions or whatever as we go, just. Library funding. I think that's an interesting one as well. There's an email attached here from a town. Was it a town, or municipality, about how they felt that the municipalities were not included in the discussions of these, even though we are funders.
Funders,
Yeah.
We were not included.
No, at all. This was done without any kind of input from the municipalities. So I don't know if there's anything that you want to say on this or discuss, but if not, we can keep going. Yeah.
I can tell you that the AMA asked the NSFM to deal with this.
Okay.
It is unacceptable completely that the municipalities were considered outside of the actual funding.
Sure.
It would be similar to, I imagine it would be similar to ourselves and the town of Yarmouth putting an addition on the medical center in Pumlico and not telling the municipality of Yarmouth. And determining the best solution for it unilaterally and not consulting our partner.
Yeah.
We are a funding partner,
Yes.
so it is completely unacceptable. It's unfortunate because I'm sure the libraries do require funding. It's not about that. It's about following a process that excluded
That's right.
a major funding partner. So I don't know what will come out of it. I know that the NSFM will be sending correspondence to
Good.
the province. We have a memorandum of understanding. Your NSFM has a memorandum of understanding with the province of Nova Scotia that says on all matters we ought to be consulted. And this was not the case at all. There were municipal councillors that were represented as library board association reps,
Yes.
but there was no AMA or NSFM representation or input on the funding calculation model. They unilaterally decided not to change the percentage of municipal funding. That was really nice of them to do that on our behalf. Insert sarcasm. And in no other library funding review were we excluded.
There you go.
So.
That says a lot.
So it's ongoing, and what I imagine will happen is that the province, through the department, will be sending us a letter saying that we're gonna owe the money in a year. And, we'll see where that goes. So that's what we know.
Yeah.
And, council can write a letter of concern to whomever it wishes if it shares that concern. But the NSFM has done that on your behalf.
Yes. Okay. Any other discussion? Western REN CEO report. Inspection report, audit Yarmouth County Solid Waste Management Authority. Minutes from most recent AMFFA meeting. And the joint steering committee member request, joint NSHA. And yeah, we all had an email on that as well. Now, they've recommended, that the town has recommended from their council, doesn't mean that we can't recommend it from ours, but they don't want one from each council, they want one that represents the area. And I think Jim McLeod was recommended by the town, so,
I think it's a good candidate.
I
I think he's a good
think
candidate.
he, yeah,
Same here.
yeah, I do believe as well.
What emails you see going in
right.
said the same,
Really?
and I agree, I didn't email, but I agree.
Yes,
Same here.
So
exactly.
you can make that a motion if you
We can-
wish
Yes.
to
I
endorse.
so move that we
We,
accept Jim McLeod as a representative.
No, I'll second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Contrary-minded, carried.
It's nice to make motions to make other councillors do something.
Well, of course, exactly,
So
yeah.
We're very
Another
nice,
unit, that,
we're very nice that way.
Yeah,
Hey, Maybe he doesn't wanna do it at all.
or even our own. Just
It'd be
joking.
nice just to be able to walk to your meetings, like he does.
Yes, yeah. Okay, financial request, we have one.
Yes,
Counselor Digdon?
have a $500 request, community grant for Nouveau Horizon de la Bereni, West Pubnico. So I make a motion that we give them $500 and that for, to help them out with their social events.
Okay.
I'll
Seconder?
second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, carried.
Thank you.
Next one, agenda topics for next meeting or notice of motion. Nobody has anything? Question period? Nothing?
Anything on Facebook? I was looking recently.
No, Scott says no.
Yep, Scott says there wasn't any.
I'll make a motion, we go in camera.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go on camera.